Welcome to America's Angels TBRI Caregiver Training. Module 8, Correcting Principles, Responsive Strategies. In this module, we will review TBRI corrective principles, responsive strategies, setting the bar, ideal response, levels of response, rupture, and repair. Challenging behaviors are expected, but effective responses require caregivers to first build safety, trust, and relationships rather than relying solely on behavior management. Responsive strategies work best when caregivers practice mindful awareness, understand underlying needs, and recognize that every correction is also a relational interaction. Even if caregivers apply all of the proactive components of TBRI, children will still have challenging behaviors that must be addressed. Dysregulation is part of human experience, and it is inevitable. The responsive strategies, or intentionally taught, last in TBRI training. Hopefully, at this point, it's clear that TBRI is just not a behavior management framework. It is a holistic intervention that sees behavior as the language of unmet needs and therefore is primarily focused on meeting needs. TBRI equips caregivers with information and tools to shift their caregiving mindset to focus on building healthy relationships, meeting needs, and creating an environment where children feel safe and can experience deep healing. TBRI's emphasis on connecting and empowering helps ensure that caregivers are connecting before correcting. Without a strong foundation of connection, any attempts to manage behavior will be less effective. In TBRI, the caregiver's mindset and well-being are just as important as the actual tools they use when correcting behavior. Without understanding the 5 B's, attachment, physiological needs, and the survival behavior mindset, the responsive strategies lose their power. Fundamentally, TBRI is about relationships. So caregivers must recognize that when they are responding to challenging behaviors, they are not just using scripts or tools. They are having a relational interaction. They are going through iterations of the attachment cycle. The responsive strategies provide caregivers with tools to respond to challenging behaviors more effectively. However, all components of TBRI are needed to move forward and towards the 3 C's goals, which are correcting, connected, content, and change behavior. The responsive strategies can seem daunting at first because for many caregivers, the correcting principles require a shift in their belief system and a shift in their own behaviors. Mindful awareness is a key component of all of the TBRI principles, including the correcting principles. If caregivers can first become more mindful of how they typically respond when faced with challenging behaviors from children, they can work to implement the responsive strategies over time. The responsive strategies include 2 main tools to help caregivers respond effectively to challenging behaviors: the ideal response and the levels of response. We will talk through these in more detail below after we explain the concept of setting the bar. In TBRI, establishing expectations for behavior is called setting the bar. The goal is for the caregiver to set the bar at a level where the child can succeed in the situation or interaction. This helps build the child's confidence in difficult situations, and it helps caregivers be mindfully aware of when they might be asking too much of a child. It helps caregivers keep a survival behavior mindset and remember everything below the surface of the 5B's iceberg that is contributing to the behavior they are seeing. Where to set the bar can change from day to day, hour to hour, which requires a mindfully aware and attuned caregiver. Deciding where to set the bar involves a few considerations, beginning with the child's history. For example, caregivers whose children have experienced toxic stress can expect to set the bar lower until enough trust and felt safety develops in the relationship. For some children, the bar may be relatively stable over time. For example, a child who experienced fetal alcohol and or drug exposure will likely always have some level of challenge with self-regulation. This awareness of the child's history will help a caregiver understand the behavioral expectation for this child is different from expectations for a child without prenatal drug exposure. A child's current circumstances are also helpful to consider when setting the bar. For example, are they hungry, dehydrated, or tired? Has someone or something in the environment acted as an emotional trigger? Where to set the bar involves understanding triggers. For example, children who have sensory processing challenges may be triggered by loud noises, crowded places, or strong smells. Seeing a person who resembles someone who caused them harm may trigger fear. Caregivers whose children have recently experienced such a trigger will know to set the bar low behaviorally until the child feels safe again. This may take a few minutes, a few hours, or even days, depending on the trigger and its severity. For instance, children who have not eaten for a few hours may need their bar set slightly lower until their blood sugar is stabilized with a snack. Caregivers should also consider their relationship with the child when setting the bar. If they do not have a strong relationship or a foundation connection, trust, and felt safety with the child, the bar should be set really low. The goal is for the caregiver to set the bar at a level where the child can succeed, and then they can raise the bar over time as there is more trust in the relationship and the child learns more skills to help manage their behavior. Setting the bar is part of balancing structure and nurture. In moments when a child is having a hard time, the caregiver might provide nurture by lowering the bar. At other times, when the child is regulated and has their basic needs met, the caregiver can be more structured and demand more of the child. The next few videos we will show examples of low bar, a higher bar, and what it looks like to raise the bar in the moment.
Every morning we're going to ask 2 questions from Mom, okay?
Yes.
And I'm going to ask Mom, when I ask, look at me. Do you want to look in the camera? Would you like to look at the camera now or after I ask 2 questions? It's kind of cool. You know what? We're going to put you on TV. We're going to play this on our big screen TV. You and all the kids. Do you want to, let me see.
TV.
Okay, wait, let me ask you a question. So you have 2 choices. Do you want to look at the camera first and then ask questions, or do you want to ask questions and then look at the camera? Which do you want to do first? Mama's questions or look at camera?
Look at the camera.
Hey,
And
see
I'll put it on TV and watch it.
we'll see it on TV today. Can you talk? Talk right there. Are you singing on a microphone?
We have a picture.
Where?
Right here. This whole thing is a giant microphone. Whoa. There you go. All right. So let's let those guys go back to wait. Can you say thanks, guys?
Thanks, guys.
Okay, give me 2 fingers, and we're gonna ask questions now. And let me see eyes, buddy. In a little while, we'll put you on TV. Okay? You'll be famous. You can dance and show them your stuff. Okay? All right. Mama, while you're gone, may I hold your hands for just a minute?
Yeah.
Thank you, buddy.
You see me? You see me dancing?
Hey, tell you what, let me see eyes. Look at me first. Jace, give me eyes, buddy. And then after we ask questions, you can dance for him for a minute, okay? Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Mama. Okay. Watch Miss Karen when I ask. Chase. Let me see eyes, buddy. Let me see eyes, buddy. Watch me when I ask and watch Mama when she answers. Okay? Is it okay for us to be the boss for your son while he's in camp today?
Yes.
Look at Mommy's eyes. What did Mommy's eyes say?
Yeah.
Okay. And if he needs a hug,
What?
may we give him a hug? What was my question? What did I ask Mama? The second question? If you need a, we give you a hug? Is that the question? So, yes, if we give a hug, if he needs a hug, can we give you a hug? Now ask Mom. Look at Mama's face. What?
Thank you. And you know what? It's okay if other people give you a hug today, okay?
Only with Mommy's permission, right? Is that okay? We have Mommy's permission. So do you want to dance for this guy for 2 minutes and then go to your classroom?
Yes, can I watch it on TV?
In a little while.
Dance? Chase, you gotta do your dancing. Can you do Is that how you dance?
Oh, you guys are so good. So good.
All right,
All right. We got movie stars going here. Woohoo!
This video was taken very early on at a Hope Connection camp. Karen did not have much connection, trust, or felt safety established with the child yet. The child is also in an unfamiliar environment and about to say goodbye to their caregiver. Because of what Karen knows about the 5 Bs and because of her lack of connection, she sets a very low bar for the child. She allows him to fidget around, to play with the camera, and so on. In the future, she might be more structured in her ask for his attention. But for now, he's able to walk away from that interaction feeling like he was successful. Let's discuss. After watching this video, what other TBRI strategies did you see Karen using? Think about it. Here's another video on adjusting the bar.
My name is Onasia. I don't really have nothing that people don't know about me, really.
Really? Okay. Do you want to say something you like, or you can just pass on that part?
I like basketball and football.
Nice.
That brief video demonstrates how the bar is adjusted during the process. Karen started with a question such as, share something that others in the group might not know about you. And the child responded in a way that dismissed the question. Karen adjusts the bar in the moment because she realizes that this child might not be comfortable with the vulnerability of that question. She lowers the bar by offering him a choice of answering a different question or passing. This is a lower bar, but she's also not letting him just dismiss the question. She gives him the option to answer something less vulnerable or use his words to pass the question. Let's watch a video on setting the bar high.
Can we walk it backwards, at least to stretch out the legs?
No.
Okay, what's the next one? That one? Right here?
I will fall.
And ask with respect, and you don't have to wear the flippers.
What happens whenever we get back to our...
If you ask with respect, you don't have to wear the flippers.
Can I not wear the flippers, please?
Sure. Come on. Here we go.
I'm a fall.
I'm right here. I will not let you fall.
Hey, I'll meet you back behind.
As long as you don't let me fall either. All right. Oh, you can turn around. Turn in.
I feel like I'm gonna
got you. I got you. Awesome. Did it. Moving on. What's next?
In this video, Cassie and Mandy have been camp buddies for a while and have some connection, trust, and felt safety together. So when Cassie says no to the activity and expresses that she thinks she will fall, a low bar in this situation might have been for Mandy to say, "Thanks for using your words. We can skip this activity." But Mandy sets a higher bar by reminding Cassie to act with respect and still has Cassie do a modified version of the activity. Not only does Cassie feel successful in the interaction with Mandy, but raising the bar also allowed her to experience success with the activity itself. After watching this video, what other TBR strategies did you see being used? Ideal response. Ideal response is a framework that helps caregivers remember what to do when faced with challenging behaviors. Responding to behavior immediately helps children process, learn, and regulate more effectively. Delayed responses can reduce learning and increase stress. Being direct means staying connected and supportive when addressing challenging behavior to help children feel safe enough to learn and regulate. Efficient responses to challenging behavior are responses that match the behavior's intensity. Caregivers should use TBRI levels of response to determine the most efficient response. Action-based responses like offering a redo helps children physically practice appropriate behaviors, reinforcing learning and regulation through experiential supportive correction. When addressing challenging behaviors, caregivers should level their response at the behavior, not the child, to protect self-worth, reduce shame, and support regulation, especially for children impacted by toxic stress. It is easy for caregivers to become dysregulated when faced with challenging behaviors, especially when they try to implement something new like TBRI. Because we know that the brain struggles to process complex information when dysregulated, the co-creators of TBRI created Ideal Response. The Ideal Response is a framework that helps caregivers easily recall or remember what to do when faced with challenging behaviors. Successful responses to challenging behaviors are immediate, direct, efficient, action-based, and leveled at the behavior, not at the child.
I wanted to talk a little bit more about some of that nitty gritty of correcting. And a lot of caregivers, it's, we really want to grab on to, okay, so what do I do? What are the tools? And in TBRI, we talk about this acronym of the ideal response as a way of kind of structuring that a little bit. And in that acronym, ideal response, the I stands for immediate, the D stands for direct, the E is for efficient, the A is for action-based, and the L is for leveled at the behavior, not the child. So can you guys talk a little bit more about maybe each of those pieces of the ideal response?
The I is for immediate, right? So what we're talking about there is we want to respond to those behaviors pretty quickly. And the purpose in that is that we want to put things out like a spark, right? We want to be dealing with low-level behaviors, because if we're dealing with the little disrespect or the eye roll or the voice tone, that's not a big behavior. And so we can really keep the train moving and keep it playful and deal with it and move on. So by immediate, we mean don't let things, skirt under the table. Jump in and address things as quickly as you can.
When we talk about direct, we're simply talking about our engagement strategies, which is what do my eyes look like? Eye contact. Do I have soft eyes or piercing eyes, right? Voice tone, playful interaction, but behavior matching. So just think about the engagement strategies, proximity, am I far from, am I close to, my child as we talk about direct. And in that direct component, all of these work simultaneously, together, which then, leads to the efficiency piece. And I'd be interested to hear what y'all say about efficient.
So for me, when I think about efficiency, I think about it's what I'm bringing to the interaction, and if I'm going way overboard because it was a button for me, or I'm in a place emotionally or physically where I'm just not responding well, and I'm just really overdoing it, then what's going to happen is that the opportunity for learning for the child will be lost, because they will go into kind of a fight, flight, freeze. Much in the same way of the reason why we want to be direct and we want to pay attention to what does my face look like? What does my voice sound like? How fast am I talking? Is because we want to keep their brains engaged, and we want them to be able to hear what we say. And in order for them to be able to receive that, we can't be going overboard on our reaction, because it'll cause them to kind of go into that survival mode.
Right.
And the A for action-based, it really has to do with helping kids do it again, redo it with their bodies, with their brains, with their words. We want to have them go through the right way, because that's how we know to rewire their brains, so that we begin to see the frequency of that behavior lessen, because we're helping their brains to readapt to what we're looking for.
Right. And lastly, with leveled active behavior and not the child is so important. And one of the things I always emphasize with leveled active behavior is punching me is not okay. Mm-hmm. Zero tolerance, for physical violence towards me, towards other people. But we'll deal with that. But at the end of that, it's not about the child. The child is still precious, loved, and adored. But this behavior is not okay. So let's keep the focus on the behavior and not on the child. And it's something to just think about when we think about leveled active behavior, not the child, is that our children, based on their history, have enough shame, guilt to fill up an entire state. So in that moment of shaping behavior, they don't need that. So I need to keep it focused and leveled at the behavior, and definitely not at the preciousness of that child.
Responding immediately to a behavior is important because in children, the brain only holds information in short-term memory for a few seconds. When caregivers address challenging behavior quickly, children are better able to remember what happened, what they felt, and how they responded. It is also much better to address a behavior early, before it has a chance to escalate. This requires the caregiver to be nearby and available. This is not always possible, but if caregivers don't respond quickly to a challenging behavior, the child's ability to learn or practice a new skill is diminished. For example, saying, "We'll talk about this later" at home, hours after the behavior happened, is less effective than addressing it in the moment. In addition to being less effective, wanting to address behavior prolongs the experience and can create stress or anxiety in the child, which will only add to their dysregulation. Being unsure of how a caregiver will respond is especially stressful for children who have experienced toxic stress, because their brain and body are conditioned to remain alert to possible stress. Addressing the behavior immediately allows the caregiver and the child to move past the challenging behavior and return to a calm state more quickly. Challenging behavior. Caregivers can be direct by practicing the engagement strategies with children who are exhibiting challenging behavior. For example, be aware of voice quality by going to the child instead of calling to them or yelling from across the room. Try behavior matching and be aware of what your body language is communicating. If the child is sitting, sit down with them. This behavior communicates connection, whereas standing over a child communicates power and control, which can activate the stress response. Provide a healthy touch by gently touching the child's shoulder or arm. Sometimes, if the child is too overwhelmed, touch could trigger more severe behavior. So be sure to ask permission, use your best judgment, and pay attention to the child's body language. Make warm eye contact with the child that communicates connection and safety. Use playful interaction to address behaviors when possible and to return to a state of connection after dealing with challenging behaviors. The section on levels of response will provide further discussion on this strategy. If caregivers are wondering, why would I do these things if a child was just misbehaving? That's a good question. When addressing challenging behaviors, the goal is to help the child learn a different or more appropriate behavior. For a child to learn, they need to be in a calm, regulated state, not in their downstairs brain with a flipped lid. They must feel safe and trust that the caregiver is there to support them, not to punish or shame them. Staying connected and using the engagement strategies help children feel safe and supported, even in stressful or challenging moments. Although it is often tempting to use more structure than is necessary when children are exhibiting challenging behaviors, this can often result in increased frustration and power struggles. The stress response system continues to be activated instead of calmed, which doesn't teach children new, more appropriate behaviors. Identifying the appropriate level of response for a particular situation helps ensure that the caregiver's response matches the intensity of the situation. Responding efficiently helps children stay regulated, engaged, and moving forward with positive behavior without becoming overwhelmed or dysregulated. If caregivers can successfully address a behavior playfully, there is no need to add more structure or intensity in their response. If a caregiver experiences an intense reaction, triggers, or buttons to challenging behaviors, they should be curious about their own reaction. Mindful awareness helps caregivers notice their triggers and how their regulation skills or personal history may shape their responses. Research shows that active experimental learning creates new connections in the brain. We also know that action helps youth learn at a faster pace and deeper level. That is why the ideal response incorporates a redo or an opportunity for children to physically practice appropriate behaviors or skills once they are regulated. It involves helping the child return to the beginning of a situation and recreate things as they might have happened if the child used their words or appropriate skills. This action-based behavioral script helps ensure that children are getting actual physical practice with more appropriate response. This gives their brain and body a frame of reference when the caregiver asks them to respond differently to a similar situation in the future. A redo also helps the child in the behavioral episode feeling successful and allows them to repair or apologize. Sometimes for low-level behavior challenges, a redo might simply mean asking the child to try again using respectful words or behavior. This is where we might use life value terms. Caregivers should also use their judgment to determine when a verbal redo is more appropriate than a physical redo. For example, with older children or teens, having them physically redo a behavior in front of their friends may cause shame, which is not the goal. For children who have experienced toxic stress, their belief system and self-esteem can be fragile. When addressing challenging behaviors, caregivers have a unique opportunity to show children that even when they are not at their best, they are loved and valued. Caregivers can help children understand that their behavior does not define their identity. A behavior is what someone does, not who they are. Helping children recognize their inherent worth, regardless of their behavior, may take time and patience, but having a survival behavior mindset helps caregivers respond appropriately. Caregivers must understand the powerful role shame plays in a child's belief system, especially when that system has been shaped by toxic stress. Children with a history of adversity often struggle with low self-esteem and are more vulnerable to experiencing shame. When caregivers address a child's behavior, the child may quickly jump to conclusions like, "I'm a bad kid." Shame is a deeply uncomfortable emotion, and children will use various strategies to cope. Some may shut down or withdraw, while others may act out. This is why caregivers need to level their response at the behavior, not the child. Doing so not only preserves connection and felt safety, but also supports regulation. When shame is triggered, dysregulation often follows. A calm, focused response helps interrupt that cycle. In practice, this looks like verbally naming the behavior that is being addressed. For example, instead of saying, "See how quiet your sister is being right now? Why can't you be more like that?" Or, "Be quiet, you're embarrassing me." A caregiver might say, "Your voice is a bit too loud right now. Use your inside voice, please." By naming the behavior, the child can better understand that that behavior is not okay, but I am okay.
There will be. Yes, your mama's going to be about 5 minutes, and she's going to be looking for her beautiful girl. There will be. Okay. Yes, your mama's going to be here in about 5 minutes, and she's going to be looking for her beautiful girl. Okay.
Can you tell her about our mistake?
Sure.
But don't just tell her Abby ruined the day, darling.
Abby, you did not ruin the day. Abigail.
We fixed it.
We fixed it, honey. Darling, you did not ruin the day. You just had a little problem. I had a little problem? I got to camp this morning, and did you know I was having a kind of a tantrum? I had a little problem earlier. Did you know I had a little problem? I got to camp this morning, and did you know I was having a kind of a tantrum? Because I was really too tired from yesterday, and did you know I was crying this morning before camp started? I was sitting out there on the grass crying because I said, I don't know how we're going to help these children. We don't have enough time. And I was too tired. Because you know what? I felt so sad. I had a little meltdown this morning because I was sad, and I was too tired. Did you know it? You know what? I was too tired. I had a little kind of a meltdown. And then you know what? Of course you did. Everybody has meltdowns sometimes, right? That's exactly why, Abigail. It's nothing, no problem at all. This is no problem at all. You did not ruin anybody's day, okay? You're a sunshine girl. I like to be with you. I like to see you. You're a good girl. We're going to get some liquid. Oh, thank you. You don't need them yet? Oh, okay. Well, we'll get them when you're ready for them. You just tell me when you want them, okay? They drive you nuts. Do you know what? Mine drive me nuts, too. Yeah? Want them? No? You ready to? Yeah. Okay, good. You helping me out here? Oh, lemonade coming right there.
Think about that moment when Abigail looks up at Karen, like she's checking to see if Karen is mad at her. Karen can give warm eye contact that reflects Abigail's inherent preciousness and tell her that she's a sunshine girl. While this won't change Abigail's belief system in one interaction, maybe Abigail leaves this one interaction thinking, I was just too tired and had a little problem, rather than I am just a bad kid and I can't do anything right, or I ruined the day. That is the hope of leveling our response at the behavior, not to the child. No caregiver is going to use the ideal response perfectly. In every difficult interaction with a child, caregivers are also humans who get dysregulated, make mistakes, and have their own tantrums sometimes. In those situations, it's important to level the response at their own behavior too. Regretting the initial response to a child doesn't make them a bad caregiver. Remember that in these moments, there is a chance to repair the rupture by apologizing to the child and even maybe asking them for a redo. Levels of response. TBRI levels of response are designed to complement the ideal response and help caregivers respond efficiently to challenging behaviors. It can be difficult to know how much structure to use without using too much. If caregivers overreact and use more structure than necessary to correct behavior, they may cause more dysregulation. Caregivers often find themselves anticipating a challenge when they see their child becoming dysregulated. This anticipation can lead to overreaction, particularly if a behavior pushes the caregiver's button. A key piece of addressing behavior successfully is for the caregiver to practice self-regulation strategies. When caregivers can stay regulated, practice mindful awareness, and remember that their child's behavior is communicating an unmet need, they can correct behavior effectively without shaming the child. When faced with challenging behaviors, it is the caregiver's job to help the child regulate and to meet the need behind their behavior, while still holding the child accountable. This requires balancing structure and nurture. The TBRI levels of response are designed to aid caregivers with the challenge of addressing behaviors with the right amount of structure. The TBRI levels of response are: Level 1, playful engagement. Level 2, structured engagement. Level 3, calming engagement. And Level 4, protective engagement. The increasing levels correspond to the increasing intensity of a child's behavior. However, these levels are not prescriptive steps. They are guidelines. For example, caregivers don't always have to work their way up the levels. Some behaviors will immediately call for a level 3 response. No matter what level a situation calls for, caregivers should always try to return to level 1, playful engagement. This helps ensure that the caregiver and child in the behavioral episode feeling connected and safe. When behaviors require calming or protective engagement, the child still remains responsible for their actions or inactions. It just means that addressing the behavior has to wait until the child is calmer. All levels of response, including levels 3 and 4, use the ideal response, which means that the responses are action-based. Depending on the emotional state of the child, a redo may follow the situation immediately or at a later time when they are calm and alert. With both the ideal response and the levels of response when the behavior is over, This means that once the behavior has been addressed and the child has successfully met the caregiver's expectation in that moment, there is no need to keep revisiting the behavioral episode. If caregivers find themselves wanting to continue talking with the child or giving consequences, that is a good opportunity for the caregiver to practice mindful awareness. This can help the caregiver understand why they are struggling to let go of the behavior and practice self-regulation. The levels of response are designed to help caregivers quickly gauge intensity, avoid overreacting, and better support the child's regulation. With mindful awareness and practice, caregivers will move through the levels more naturally. Most importantly, connection, not characterization, is a caregiver's best tool for correcting behavior. Let's talk more about level 1 playful engagement. Caregivers should use playful engagement for minimally challenging behaviors. The goal is to address emerging behaviors before they escalate, catch it low, to quickly correct behaviors and move on. Playful engagement works well with low-level behaviors like mildly disrespectful language or behaviors like rolling their eyes, mild defiant language, taking something without permission, demanding something rather than asking with respect, and ignoring the caregiver. When using playful engagement, caregivers should have a warm tone, inviting quality, pitch to voice, and moderate volume, not too loud, not too soft. Think about this level as redirecting in a supportive manner. For example, if a child says, "Get me my milk now," or "You need to buy me new shoes," the caregiver might respond with a quick, "Please try that again," with respect. Caregivers can use the life value terms to quickly and playfully remind the child about expected behavior. Remember that life value terms need to be taught and practiced proactively in order for them to be effective when trying to correct behavior.
Thank you, darling. Would you give it to, she asked second.
I know what that is.
Thank you, darling. Would you give it to,
let's try it again. Here,
she asked second.
let's
Hand it to her, please, gently. Hand it gently. Thank you, that was good work.
So here's the
Here,
deal.
whoa, let's try it
You wanna
again.
give Mom
Here,
a goodbye?
let's hand it to her, please, gently.
See her later?
Hand it gently. Thank you,
And
that was
then-
good work.
You better go.
So here's the deal.
Get out.
Do you want to give Mom a goodbye hug?
Okay,
And
let's try
or
that
just
again
tell her
with
to see her later?
How about
And then-
Mom?
You better go.
Thanks for bringing
Get
me
out of here.
Okay, let's try that again with respect. How about, "Hey, Mom, thanks for bringing me. I'm going to go play now."
What other brave souls want to demonstrate? Huh? What other brave souls want to demonstrate?
Do you want to go over there? Is that You'll do it for the camera? Okay, so...
Okay, so how many of y'all would
do you
like
want
to
go over
do it
there?
for the camera?
Is that a good, safe
We
place for
love
the
getting
camera?
to see y'all do it for the camera. Okay. So
Okay,
why don't you guys
so
go do
how
that?
many
Both
how
of
many
these
of y'all
two.
would like
You
to go
guys
do it for the
first,
camera?
Ian.
Because we love getting to see y'all do it for the camera. Okay, so why don't you guys go do that? Both of these two. You guys go first. Ian?
Hey, it's time to go, man.
Man, forget that.
Yeah. All right, right way.
All right, let's do it. Can you give me about 2 minutes to finish off the magazine?
Nice shot, man.
Thank you. Thank you, man.
It's time to line up.
You ready?
Can you give me about 2 minutes to finish off this
10
magazine?
minutes and you coming?
Yeah, I'll be there. All right, thank you, man. Cool.
All right, you ready? Yeah.
Scott, you gotta come do your chart.
Man, forget you. I'm on the phone. Can't you see I'm on the phone?
Ready? All right. Good disrespect.
I'm on the phone right now. Can I have 5 more minutes?
All right. Ready?
Then I'll come do my chore.
Scott, you gotta come do your chart.
I'm on the phone right now. Can I have 5 more minutes?
5 more minutes and then what?
Then I'll come do my chore.
Okay, you
All
got
right,
it.
thank you. Good job. Son.
I'll show you mine.
Okay.
Okay.
And up.
When level 1 playful engagement is unsuccessful, the behavior continues or escalates. Level 2 structured engagement is the next step. This level requires more intervention and attention from the caregiver. Structured engagement can address the following types of behaviors: ongoing or escalating challenge or dysregulation after a level 1 response, mild agitation, or even resistance, hyperactive behavior. At this level, caregivers should stop what they are doing to address the behavior. With structured engagement, the caregiver's voice and tone should be lower and firmer than it was with level 1 playful engagement. The cadence of their voice should be slower and slightly louder, but not harsh. When a level 2 response is necessary, caregivers can offer choices, compromises, or a redo. At this point, children may be slightly dysregulated, but caregivers can still use strategies like choices and a redo because children still have access to their upstairs brain. Picking between two choices, coming up with a compromise, and doing a redo all require some executive functioning, which is why these strategies are best used when a child is not in their downstairs brain or highly dysregulated. Once a level 2 response successfully addresses the behavior, the caregiver should return to playful engagement and then move on.
Elena, let me see eyes. Okay, now listen to me. If you guys are talking in the group, we need to separate. Let me see eyes. Okay, yes, now listen to me. You say yes, if you guys are talking in the group, we need to separate. Yes, ma'am? All right. Yes, ma'am? You say yes, ma'am? All right, yes, ma'am? Wait a minute. Yes, ma'am? Give me word. Wait. All right, that's good word. That's a nice real boy voice. Now, if you start talking, wait a minute. Okay. Wait just a minute, please. Okay, listen to me. We have to separate, okay? If you start talking and acting fidgety together, like you did yesterday, we have to separate, okay? So let's put Buddy, where would you like to ask your buddy to sit? Good. All right. Right here. Does that work for you? So then maybe y'all could trade places. So let's put Buddy, where would you like to ask your buddy to sit? I think we've got one buddy here. Right here. So then maybe y'all could trade places. We'll give them an option. And if they can sit quietly, so I think we got one buddy here and then Elena scoot over here to make room for the buddy on this side, okay, please? You're going to still be by him. Can we? Oh, he wanted to sit by Matthew. Buddy's going to sit right there. Matthew, would you know that Matt stay in the circle, please? Where are you going? Come on back in the circle, big boy. Buddy's going to sit right there. But if y'all start to get wiggly together, I ask you, buddy, just to sit here. Okay? Fair enough? Fair enough. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
All right.
Bubblegum.
Yes.
That was good asking.
One of our TBRI trained counselors is organizing the group for another camp activity.
In this next example, Jamie, one of our TBRI trained counselors, is organizing the group for another camp activity.
Find just one partner and then stick together with that partner. We need you. We need you, Jay.
Jay and Grant leave without permission.
Instead of calling them out, he assesses their feelings and what they're capable of giving at that moment.
Henry follows. Instead of calling them out, he assesses their feelings and what they're capable of giving at that moment.
They were tired at the end of the day, and I noticed that they were kind of getting pushed a little bit. So I just try to connect. I try to connect with them and say, yeah, I understand.
I think an important thing to keep in mind working with young people in any context is don't go black or white. Everything's gray.
Henry not only recognizes they're a little cranky from being worn out, he reminds them they'll soon have time to unwind.
About what you got coming up so you can relax.
Then he offers a compromise.
So let's think about that, all right? I'm going to go over here. I'm going to sleep for like 2 minutes. 2 minutes? Is that cool? Can we say 2 minutes and make a compromise and I'll do that? 2 minutes? Okay.
I'll step back
say 2 minutes.
And give them that space.
And I'll do a signal like this.
To let them know that I'm coming back. And I stood back and kind of played and give them that space, and I gave them a little signal to let them know that I was coming back. And when I did it, they came back.
That was so quick. That was 2 minutes. Dang, that was a quick 2 minutes.
When a situation escalates to the point that a child needs help regulating and calming themselves, and or levels 1 and 2 have not been successful, caregivers should respond with level 3, calming engagement. At this level, caregivers should assume that the child is dysregulated with a partially or fully flipped lid and needs help identifying their needs and how to get those needs met properly or appropriately. The caregiver's main focus is to help the child regulate. The caregiver is no longer focused on their initial ask or the action that started the behavioral episode. Caregivers will return to addressing the specific behavior only after the child is regulated. At first, this may seem counterintuitive or like the child is not being held accountable for the behavior. But because of what we know about the brain, we know that learning cannot happen when a child is in their downstairs brain. At this point, their stress response is activated and their survival behaviors are being expressed. The child is overwhelmed, reactive, and unable to self-regulate without support. Without support from a caregiver, the child's behavioral deterioration will continue. In these moments, they do not have access to reasoning, planning, and language processing parts of their brain. Lecturing, threatening consequences, or becoming punitive will not solve the current problem or any future problems effectively. For example, if a caregiver says, "Do this now," or "You can't watch TV for 2 weeks" to a child with a flipped lid, the child's brain is actually not capable of comparing those outcomes in that moment. Their brain and body aren't thinking 2 weeks ahead. They are only thinking about getting their need met in this specific moment. This is why there are levels of response to work through. Once a child is regulated, caregivers can move back down to level 1, playful engagement, to address the current behavior in a way that teaches the child more appropriate behaviors in the future. In level 3, calming engagement, the caregiver's voice quality should be firm, with a slow cadence and a slightly increased volume. This isn't meant to be harsh or frightening. It is meant to slow everything down since the child's capacity to process language might be limited at this point. Be aware that children may be more sensitive to sensory input when they are dysregulated. Loud voices or noises, healthy touch, and other sensory input can easily send them into a sensory overload and escalate the situation. If a child behavior requires level 3 common engagement, it is important not to send the child away, such as sending them to their room. Self-regulation develops through attachment. Therefore, sending a child away, even if they're older, will not help them regulate now or in the future, and will not help them cultivate the 4 skills of healthy relationships. Sending a child away when they are misbehaving or dysregulated can communicate that when they make a mistake, they are not worthy of connection, which can lead to feelings of shame. This isn't what we want children to believe about relationships. We want children to know they are loved and precious in the sunshine and the rain. That no matter what, they have someone they can turn to for support. And on a more practical level, children need their caregivers to help them regulate and practice new skills when they are upset. Sending a child away prevents the caregiver from offering support or scaffolding. Instead, using a time-in strategy works at this level. A time-in is when you stay in close proximity and connection with the child to help regulate. If an older child doesn't want to be near a caregiver while they are trying to calm down, well, then that's okay. If the caregiver is confident that the child will be safe and able to calm themselves. Even in this situation, the child needs to know that the caregiver is there for support. So a caregiver might say, okay, I'm going to come back and check on you in 5 minutes. If you need me before then, I'm sitting in the next room. If a caregiver isn't comfortable with the child being on their own for a few minutes, they might say, I understand that you want to be alone, but right now it's my job to keep you safe and help you regulate. I will sit quietly here for a few minutes while you calm yourself down. Although common methods of discipline seek to isolate the child or provide consequences as soon as possible, the goal of the calming engagement is to mentor. We have to mentor the child. And we do this by co-developing a plan for self-regulation that is then implemented with adult support. A common engagement plan can help caregivers meet needs effectively. And level 3 common engagement, this is a plan that a child and caregiver create proactively together. It can be formally written or something that is verbally agreed upon. A common engagement plan lists out specific regulation strategies that work for a specific child. It helps caregivers know what to do and what not to do when they are trying to help that child regulate.
Can you regulate yourself? I will help you with your parents. First, yes, please. Okay? Can you regulate yourself? I will help you if you can't, but you need to listen and obey first time. Okay? Yes, ma'am? All right. Okay. Use Buddy's words. You're going to do sparklers next, okay? Let's stick with the book. Yes, ma'am? Yes, ma'am?
Yeah. We're gonna watch a movie after swimming. Okay? We'll go swimming, we'll put the movie here and we can watch it then. Fair enough? We can't watch the movie. Fair enough? No. We can't watch the movie right now because we're doing the room right here. And we can't interrupt. We're gonna put the movie afterwards, okay?
Does anyone want to tell me what it felt like when they had the blindfold
Is it fair
on?
enough? Or do you want Miss Karen?
What did it feel like when you had the blindfold on?
Should we call Miss Karen and ask her? Okay. So we're gonna wait.
For today and then put it back to back. Okay? If you want to do that. They're not mine, they're mine. Let's do that. Remember you met her yesterday? And so I have to give these back to her. Let's do Ziggy real quick and our handshake or our
Are you too tired today?
Yeah, I think you might be. Talk to me.
Are you too tired today?
What's going on with you?
Yeah, I think you might be.
Talk to me now. What do you need? What's going on with you? Can you tell me?
I'm tired.
I think they're all worn out. So what can we do? And I think that their parents. Are you going to do sparklers in the art project? You already had a snack. So what can we do to help you? Do you want to swim or are you going to do sparklers in the art projects? Yeah. You already had a snack. We're just going to do short swim today. Do you want to swim or no swim?
Yes.
So yes, swim. We're just going to do a short swim today because some of the kids are parachute play in one room. Okay. We're going to do sparklers. But tell you what, Miss Casey's finishing her group. We're going to do parachute play in one room. We're going to do sparklers with Miss Karen and Miss Kyra. And we're going to do, I can't remember what the third activity is. Okay. And then we're going to take our swimming suits. After the swim pool, we're going to come watch lunches. Let me see. And I think we're watching Night at the Museum. Okay. You like that one? And then after the swim pool, we're going to come watch a movie. And I think we're watching Night at the Museum. Use good words, okay? Do you like that one? Everybody will work with you. You have to use your good words. Now, listen to me, buddy. You're going to have to use good words, okay? Your buddy will work with you, but you have to use your good words.
You saw we had kids with tears.
That's fair enough, right?
You can take him out.
I think he's worn down is what I think.
You saw we had kids with tears at the door. I mean, he could take a nap, it looks like, doesn't he?
Do you want to go lay down in the tent for a little while with your buddy? He might sleep 20 minutes or so.
Just use your good words, okay?
Do you want to go lay down in the tent for a little while with your buddy? He might sleep 20 minutes or so.
Just use your good words, okay?
Okay.
She'll help you, but you just have to use your good words, okay? All right, buddy. You're welcome.
This will do. Camera's pretty uncomfortable too.
Frank, you want to sit outside?
Just tell me what you want to do. Jay, you want to go sit outside for a little bit? Just tell me what you want to do, man. You don't know? I'll tell you what, let's do a walk for a second, right? Change the scene. I'll tell you what, let's take a walk for a second, man. Let's change the scenery. Walk around, catch our breath, see what's up.
Not so many lights, right?
Yeah.
Come on.
Let's do that. Come on.
When children become dysregulated, they pose immediate danger. This calls for a level 4 protective engagement response. These reactions stem from a survival state, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, where the child has no access to their upstairs or cognitive brain. Their behavior is a primitive survival response. If such behaviors are frequent, caregivers should increase proactive strategies by offering playful, engaging ways for children to practice self-regulation, communication, and relationship skills. The more they learn to meet their needs appropriately, the less they'll rely on extreme behaviors. Examples of behaviors that need level 4 protective engagement: sudden acts of aggression, threat of danger or harm, behavior characterized by extreme emotional or physical reaction beyond the child's capacity for regulation. In level 4, the safety of a child and others around the child is the main focus. If the caregiver can safely remain close to the child, they should stay in the same room or nearby. Since the child is in their downstairs brain, caregivers should focus on basic needs and regulation. Use very few words such as, "I've got you," "I know you feel out of control right now," "I'm here," all said slowly with a calm, low, quiet tone. The caregiver must try their best to remain calm while with the child, because the child's brain and body will begin to mirror the emotional state of the adult. Caregivers should use regulation strategies themselves by taking deep breaths, stretching, or swaying, for example. The caregiver can move closer to the child if it is safe. The caregiver should stay present and attuned with the child as much as possible for however long it takes. When the child begins to regulate, the caregiver should continue to support regulation by encouraging deep breathing, going for a walk, offering weighted items, offering a drink or snack, or anything else in the child's common engagement plan. The caregiver may say, "I'm here to help you work through this when you are ready," or "Would you like to go for a walk together to help us calm down?" As always, the behavioral episode is not finished until the caregiver returns to level 1, playful engagement with the child. Remember, the child's behavior is a way to communicate an unmet need. After the situation is resolved, it will be important to help the child identify what caused them to escalate, and what they need. For example, physical aggression can be a need to have control because control feels like safety to them. By working with the child to understand the need behind their behavior, caregivers can better address the need proactively in the future. For example, with children who have experienced toxic stress, any experience that brings up the pain and hurt of their past can lead to big behaviors and heightened need for control. It is important to find healthy outlets for these feelings, such as therapy, exercise, and other activities. It is normal to get upset when thinking about a prior experience that was scary or painful, so the big emotions that children might experience are not the problem. They are understandable responses to pain, fear, and uncertainty. Being highly dysregulated is an uncomfortable and sometimes scary feeling when you have big emotion with the physiological response. It can feel scary if you don't know what to do with that emotion. The work of the caregiver is to help children find healthy, more effective ways to manage those big feelings when the inevitable arise. If a child is getting to a level 4 behavior, often caregivers should consider what else they can do to proactively help reduce the child's need for these big behaviors. For example, are they being proactive about building connection through engagement strategies? Be a detective. What is happening before a child moves to level 4 behavior? Is there a pattern, and what is triggering this child? If so, how can caregivers help disrupt that pattern? Is the child getting a chance to learn and practice regulation strategies and other socio-emotional skills during calm times? Does the caregiver need to cultivate more attunement with this child so that they are better able to catch lower level behaviors before they escalate to level 4?
Another part of it in terms of feeling safe is, I think one of the things we don't often think about is
another part of it in
if
terms
we
of
can't
feeling safe
self-regulate,
is,
if we don't
I think one of the things we don't often think about is that if we can't self-regulate, if we don't have the tools or the wiring to be able to self-regulate, that's scary because we feel like we're not in control. And I've had moments as a parent and also as a younger person where I was having trouble managing my temper. And fortunately, I never did anything that I regret. But it didn't feel safe for me, and it certainly didn't feel safe for my family during those times.
I was having a conversation not long ago, and this individual was talking to me and said they were having a dialogue with a group of parents, and they asked the parents, what is it that you need and for your child? And the mom said, I just want my child to be able to live life out loud, just be themselves. And so when it comes to felt safety and attachment, that really brought me back to my time in working in residential, and a lot of our kids would have these extreme behaviors that would lead to multiple living spaces and arrangement. And people would ask the question a lot, how is it that your kids come here and they stay, and they're not bouncing around? And what it comes down to is they're able to live out loud, and that's a part of feeling safe internally and knowing that the connections and people around me, as mentioned before, have my back in the sunshine, in the rain, and I think for me that's just a real picture of felt safety in real time as it relates to
Describe
our
what
kids.
you experience when you feel dysregulated now as an adult. Recall what you experienced when you felt dysregulated as a child. Keep in mind, when it's over, It's connected to the child at all times. The goal is always to return to playful engagement. Even with ideal response and levels of response as tools, caregivers will sometimes wish they had responded differently when trying to correct a challenging behavior. Similarly, even when all the principles and strategies of TBRI are implemented consistently, children will still have challenging behaviors sometimes. Because no one is perfect, another skill that caregivers must get comfortable with practicing as well as teaching is to repair after a rupture in their relationships. Rupture and repair happen in all relationships, including the caregiver-child relationship. When addressing challenging behaviors or dealing with their own stressors, caregivers will make mistakes in how they handle these situations. Caregivers might feel guilty about losing their temper, yelling, or being dismissive. They might feel like TBRI isn't working for their family because the children in their care continue to struggle. But TBRI is a journey. There will be setbacks for both the caregiver and the children in their care. It's important for caregivers to view themselves and children with compassion and adopt the assumption that caregivers and children are doing the best they can with the tools they have in any given moment. This means that even when caregivers are consistent with TBRI, there will still be challenges. All humans make mistakes, experience stress, and react in ways we regret. TBRI does not teach caregivers how to avoid all ruptures. Instead, TBRI includes the practice of a redo and the opportunity to repair after rupture for both children and caregivers. No caregiver is going to get it right 100% of the time. Rupture and repair is a universal process in relationships. Encouragingly, when caregivers can successfully repair after a rupture, they deepen and strengthen the relationship. It teaches children that we can reconnect after making mistakes and that the relationship is strong enough to recover from these mistakes. Ruptures can be big or small. Sometimes the child's behavior presses the caregiver's buttons, and they might respond out of anger or frustration by yelling or withdrawing. For example, other ruptures might be bigger, like experiences that previously resulted in toxic stress. For bigger ruptures, caregivers can work to repair over time through consistent repair. Should happen when the caregiver can regulate themselves and approach the situation or behavior with curiosity and empathy. In a moment of repair, caregivers apologize, address their behavior. A caregiver might say, "I'm sorry I yelled earlier. I was frustrated, and I too was tired. But that doesn't make it okay. I know it feels scary when I yell, and I'm sorry I talked to you that way." Caregivers might even ask for their own redo. For example, saying, "I realized that I was ignoring you earlier when you were trying to ask me a question. I was busy and frustrated that you were interrupting me. I should have told you to wait 2 minutes until I finished my task, and then I could answer your question. Can I have a redo?" And then actually walk through a redo with the child. This models self-awareness and the process of a redo and meaningful apology for the child, while providing the caregiver with repeated practice of TBRI skills they're working to implement. Opportunities for children to repair after their own challenging behaviors are built in the ideal response through the action-based component. However, caregivers can also talk directly about the concept of rupture and repair or apologizing in general with the children in their care. Understanding rupture. Ruptures occur when caregivers reacts out of frustration, anger, misstep. Examples of ruptures is yelling, punishing out of anger. Caregivers may feel like they failed, pushed buttons, blamed the child. TBRI focuses on repair, again, rather than avoiding ruptures. The importance of repair. Repairs are often times of reconnection. Caregivers apologize, discuss what happened, and reestablish your connection. The process of repair, regulate emotions, approach with curiosity and empathy, explore needs behind the behavior. Children learn. Mistakes are normal. See vulnerability as safe. Understand they are loved and valued.
And lots of times we feel like we've made a mistake and it's the end of the world. And actually,
lots of times
Alan
we feel like we've made a mistake and it's the end of the world.
Is that from
actually, Alan Shore's done some writing about this. Is that from the neuroscience of relationships suggests that kids in particular benefit more when we make a mistake and we repair it than if we never had made that mistake in the first place.
I don't think
and I think that's a very comforting, certainly comforting for me, but I think it's comforting for us all because
no one's going to get it right.
I don't think anybody can. Parenting is a tough, challenging, complex job, and no one's going to get it right all the time. We talk in the business world about failing forward and how failing is a resource and so on. The same thing's true in parenting.
I made a mistake.
We just need to be willing to move on and say, like you said earlier, I made a mistake. I had a bad moment. I had a bad day. And this is how I did, I could never remember, dealt with it, and that becomes a model.
What's the quote?
Yeah, that's what
I can never remember, but what's the quote? It's better to.
It's better. Oh, my sort of own version of that is it's better to have erred and repaired than never to have erred at all.
Ruptures and repairs are opportunities for learning and change. When the child sees the caregiver modeling vulnerability through repair, they learn that it is normal and safe to make mistakes and apologize. They learn in the repair that they are still loved, valued, and precious despite the rupture. The message to the child is, you are important. I want to resolve this with you. As caregivers begin to practice TBRI with the children in their care, they should find hope in the concept of rupture and repair. It gives caregivers a chance to approach their own behaviors and mistakes in the past and the future with compassion, understanding, and forgiveness. To close the training, caregivers are going to decide on two. While this training journey is coming to an end, the TBRI implementation journey continues. No caregiver arrives at the destination where they are doing TBRI perfectly in every situation. Hopefully, caregivers have learned that every person is a complex collection of their past experiences, their relational patterns, their current state of regulation, their mindsets, their physiology, their environment, and more. The TBRI journey is one of consistency and compassion, not perfection. One reason that TBRI is effective and applied in so many homes, organizations, sectors, and cultures is that every person already has the tools to implement TBRI. TBRI implementation doesn't require a degree, reliance on a professional or system of care, or a significant amount of money. TBRI only requires humanity and relationship. Every caregiver in this training has the skills needed to meet the needs of the children in their care, if they are willing to practice mindful awareness and work to see the need and meet the need. The TBRI journey is not meant to be traveled alone. As a relational intervention, TBRI flourishes in relationships. Encourage caregivers to ask for help from other professionals or caregivers and existing support systems. Thank you, and this is the end of this TBRI journey.